Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Suman Dua from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. Today I am going to speak on the module Management of Childhood Obesity from the paper Applied Anthropology. The learning objectives of the module are to study various childhood management programs and other factors to control and manage childhood obesity. First of all, we will discuss briefly about childhood obesity. Obesity is not just a simple concern, but about the size and appearance. The obesity epidemic contributes to 2.6 million deaths worldwide annually. These deaths are accredited to the comorbidities related with obesity like cardiovascular disease, diabetes mellitus and hypertension, etc. These life-threatening effects explain that why growing obesity has quite suddenly become a subject for medical and governmental concern. Pediatric age group is the fastest growing subpopulation of obese individuals. Among young obese individuals, many of the chronic diseases may surge in childhood rather than adulthood, affecting mental and physical health. Childhood obesity is not only affluent in Western and developed countries as a noticeable concern, but for many of the less developed countries. It is disturbing that how some of the lesser developed countries in which undernutrition in childhood was a major concern has moved to one where the problem of overnutrition has now become a major concern. The interrelationship between genetic and environment is central to regulation of the energy balance and hence the body weight. Therefore, the risk factors for this endemic can be stratified on the basis of environmental and genetic sources. The past 20 years have seen an explosion of research into the relation of events in fetal and early postnatal life to disease processes in later childhood and adult life, the so-called programming of chronic non-communicable diseases. Within the pediatric population, obesity frequently develops as early as in preschool or primary school age. Thus, interventions have to start early in life. Intervention program should target improvement of physical activity, healthy nutrition, reduction of TV watching and other quiet activities. Goals of childhood obesity treatment. The primary goal of children obesity treatment is to establish healthy eating and physically activity levels. Childhood obesity programs should not solely emphasize on achieving a healthy body weight, rather than it should be based on the acquisition and maintenance of skills by the family as well as by the child. These skills may include awareness about the current eating habits, identifying problem behaviors such as overconsumption of particular high-calorie food, gradual modification of eating and activity habits. Along with this, medical goals may also be established with regard to the improvement or resolution of secondary conditions such as high blood pressure or abnormal lipid profile. The initial weight goal should be maintenance of current weight, which will automatically result in a reduction of BMI as the child grows taller. Management of childhood obesity. With an increase in the prevalence of pediatric obesity over the past several decades and the mandate to physicians to manage this important health issue, clinical obesity programs have been developed that coordinate the services of the physicians and other specialists from the relevant disciplines to manage and distribute care to the young, overweight individuals. Following are some instances for the management of obesity among children. Comprehensive programs, because childhood overweight obesity is a complicated phenomenon. Deciding which child requires therapeutic intervention and which one not requires expert evaluation, possibly by a team of specialists. And devising an effective treatment plan may also require input from a team of specialists. Expert panel guidelines outlined by Barlow and Dietz describe the two-level screening process for children who are overweight or risk. The first level involves calculating the child's BMI. Those who are overweight, that is 95th percentile or above, are referred for an in-depth medical assessment, while those at risk for overweight, that is between 85th to 95th percentile, are referred to a second level of screening. This screening focuses on 5 elements. First, family history of cardiovascular disease or diabetes and parental hypercholesterolemia or obesity. Second is high blood pressure. Third is elevated cholesterol. Fourth is large recent increase in BMI. Fifth is psychological or emotional problems related to weight or child concerns about weight. Children with any of these criteria are referred for an in-depth medical examination. Most successful childhood obesity treatment programs focus on lifestyle approach and require cooperation and participation from child's parents or entire family. The essential measures are to be addressed in childhood obesity programs include nutrition, physical activity, social support. While these components can be delivered from a single source, individual interaction with specialists, family alliance and community resources should be encouraged for long-term weight maintenance and to reduce weight gain. Then comes physical activity. There is strong evidence of the health benefits of physical activity, including improvement in longevity, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, obesity, osteoporosis, immune functioning, certain types of cancer and mental health. When trying to reduce sedentary behavior in overweight, obese children and adolescents, an easy way to increase physical activity is to encourage children to walk or to take bicycle to school whenever possible. Regular physical exercise has many positive effects on obesity. Apart from weight loss or weight maintenance, it reduces cardiovascular risk and increases cardiorespiratory fitness and influences metabolic, cardiovascular and orthopedic comorbidities. Both aerobic and resistance exercises have been proven to reduce the degree of obesity and the incidence of metabolic consequences such as type 2 diabetes in predisposed individuals. The positive effect of aerobic exercise in overweight obese children and adolescents is to increase cardiorespiratory capacity and to utilize fat metabolites during muscle work, which is facilitated by increased enzymatic activity of skeletal muscles. In addition, an individual adapted to a higher level of dynamic aerobic motor activity during growth may develop greater activity of specific enzymes which metabolize and utilize fatty acids to help out. In a longitudinal study in obese girls, 12 weeks of aerobic exercises significantly improved insulin's sensitivity. As the reduction of body fat is best achieved by dynamic aerobic exercise, the exercise program should be started with swimming, brisk walking or bicycling whenever possible. When some weight reduction and adaptation to increase physical activity has been achieved, exercise from lying down or sitting positions as well as the use of cycle ergometers are useful approaches as well. However, exercise programs should be adjusted to individual cardiorespiratory fitness and body shape composition as well as age. Then comes nutrition. Poor dietary behaviors are known to be a risk factor for the development of obesity. Prior to initiating a nutritional intervention, the child's nutritional status should be evaluated and several factors such as the age of the child, associated comorbidities, the degree of obesity should be considered. Caloric or energy restriction is an essentially required element for weight loss. However, simple dietary restriction has not been associated with successful weight control and may even result in a nutritionally inadequate diet. In general, with overweight and light obesity in children and adolescents, a balanced low-calorie diet is suggested, aiming at weight maintenance as the primary goal. But prior to initiating a nutritional intervention, the child's nutritional status should be evaluated and several factors such as age of child, associated comorbidities, and the degree of obesity should be considered. With moderate obesity, a diet in which energy intake is reduced by about 30% is advisable. The diet should contain approximately 20% of energy derived from protein, 30 to 35 from fat, and 45 to 50% from carbohydrates, respectively. With severe obesity, that is BMI, fall above the 97th centile and existing comorbidities, a very low calorie diet should be considered rather than a balanced low calorie diet. In VLCD, the calories provided per day should be partially balanced, that is protein 25%, fat 30% and carbohydrate 45% of energy intake. The protein sparing modified fast or unbalanced very low calorie diet is supposed to spare lean body mass while producing rapid weight loss. Protein 66%, fat 24%, carbohydrates 10% of energy intake. Children and adolescents with severe obesity are most widely treated with protein sparing modified fast. A main factor influencing energy hemostasis and total energy intake are beverages. Higher consumption of sugar sweetened beverages seen in a Western dietary pattern are clearly associated with a greater magnitude of weight gain and increased risk for development of impaired glucose tolerance and type 2 diabetes. Thus, dietary interventions should, in addition to the basic diet regime, aim to reduce the intake of soft drinks in favor of diluted fruit juices, tea or water. Dietary programs that have been applied to youth populations with reported success have included the Stop Light Diet developed by Leonard Epstein and colleagues and committed to kids, developed at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. In the Stop Light Diet, foods are assigned colors that reflect calorie and fat content and are associated with eating recommendation. First are the red foods are high fat, high calorie foods, and youth are discouraged from eating these foods. Yellow foods are moderate fat, moderate calorie foods, and youth are instructed to eat these foods in moderation. Green foods are low fat, low calorie foods, and youth are allowed to eat these foods freely. Parental involvement. Programs focused on the management of obesity must not only improve the dietary and physical activity behaviors of the children, they must also promote family and social environments that will be foster adoption of healthy habits. In children, obesity management programs, parental engagement and involvement in the weight loss and weight management program often essential for the success of the program. Parental engagement can be affected by personal characteristics, parenting style, and family dynamics. Parents have a strong influence on children's dietary intake and level of physical activity, both through modeling and reinforcement of eating and exercise behaviors, and through active determination of food options and opportunities for activity. Psychosocial factors include children's social background, relationship with obesity, socioeconomic status is not clearly understood till now, but SES plays a considerable role in the development of obesity. Socially disadvantaged families have low nutritional knowledge and interest, poor nutrition overall, and fewer opportunities for physical exercise and activity. In other words, the arguments for low SES causing obesity in children as well as adults are compelling. Stereotyping. Research into stereotypes is important because stereotypes represent a way in which people integrate information about others. Zebrowitz, 1990. The stereotypes of fatness and thinness are commonly held as logical opposites and value-laden in that thin is good and fat is bad. It has been seen that pre-adolescent children have accepted the above prevalent notion associated with thinness, which in addition to personal and social edification includes the positive attributes of well-being, healthy eating and physical fitness. It is a notion that heaviest children judged all the figures, fat and thin, to be more fit than did the lighter children. In addition, the heavy girls judged all the figures to be more liked by their parents than did the lighter girls, the reverse being true for the boys. Overall, however, the heaviest children shared the extremely negative perception of the fat figures. Children's perception of obesity. Research into children's perception and attitude to the overweight and obesity has its origin in studies of the stereotyping of disability and of the personality attributes associated with particular body shapes. Richardson et al. 1961 used a picture rating task. 6-line drawings showed a child as physically normal and with each of have physical disabilities, one of which was obvious overweight. These drawings were presented to the respondent, who was asked to choose the one he or she liked best. The selected picture was put to one side and the question repeated to give a rank order to the preference. The 10 and 11-year-olds in the Richardson et al. Study consistently preferred the child with no physical handicap. The second most preferred drawing was the child with crutches and leg brace, followed by the child sitting in a wheelchair, the child missing his/her left hand, and the child with a facial disfigurement. The overweight child was ranked bottom. This negative picture is compounded by the general failure of studies to document the fat but happy trait, which is believed to be the single consistently positive feature of the overweight stereotype. Self-perception and self-esteem body shape discontent is clearly evident. And amidst the tendency for pre-adolescent and adolescent girls to express a preference for a slimmer figure, there is a marked effect of actual weight. In one study, none of the overweight pre-adolescents placed their preferred body figure as broader than their current shape. Hill et al. 1994. The observation that overweight pre-adolescent and teenage girls and some boys express low physical appearance self-esteem is of note. Research shows that self-evaluation of physical appearance are inextricably linked to global self-esteem, albeit from teenage years onwards, and remain so across the lifespan. Harter 1993. Peer behavior. Early adolescence sees a change in the balance of children's social support from parents to peers. From the age of 12 years onwards, parents become less important as support providers, although they rarely become unimportant. Bunt and Huston 1996. Simultaneously, the nature of peer relationships change from a platform of companionship to include loyalty and intimacy. With this change, children are increasingly vulnerable to the vagaries of peer behavior, and while social support generally acts as a buffer against the negative effects of life stress, teasing and bullying by peers can be very hurtful. The frequency of past teasing about weight size was significantly associated with current body dissatisfaction and self-esteem. Wilfley et al. 1998 examined obese children attending a fitness and weight loss camp. 81% had been either teased or criticized about their weight, a majority saying that they were at least moderately upset by it. Other lifestyle and behavioral factors. Rise in obesity amongst youngsters is a majorly attributable to individual lifestyle changes and habits associated to general features in industrialized countries. Sedentary lifestyle. Favorite leisure time activities among children nowadays include television watching as well as video and computer games rather than physical exercise or outdoor activities. TV viewing has become the most common recreational activity in many of the developing countries, and there is a significant association between TV viewing and the prevalence as well as the degree of obesity in several pediatric age groups. Kaur et al. 2003, Gupta and Kapoor 2010. A recent study from Australia reported that increase of childhood obesity during the past 20 years is associated with a reduction of the number of children who walk or cycle to the school. Salmonitol 2005. In most of the cities, junk food has been made available and affordable more easily than a healthy diet to a growing number of individuals. Intakes of sugar-added beverages like soda have increased dramatically. Higher intake of soft drinks are associated with lower milk and fruit juice intake and with higher total energy intakes. The lifestyle of parents also affect that of their children. Treatment of obesity as well as cognitive awareness for a healthy lifestyle should start early childhood, as certain lifestyle changes and patterns are more easily incorporated into adulthood if learned early in life. Psychodynamic therapy. Psychodynamic therapy is used less for the management of obesity than for eating disorders. The obese child was described as living in a dysfunctional family with disturbed communication between parents and child. The child had difficulties discriminating between emotions and other bodily sensations such as hunger. Eating was then used as a substitute for emotional needs. This abnormal response developed early in the mother-child interaction if the child needs for love, warmth, food and so on were not adequately met. Behavioral therapy is one of the important psychotherapy for obesity is centered on the concept of bad eating habits in which insufficient control of external stimuli to eat or rewarding behaviors result in increased food intakes. Bad eating habits can be broken down into small sequences. The frequency of the chewing, the frequency of the meals and so on. Parents may be seen as reinforcing children's eating habits. Behavioral therapy is based on the belief that obesity is a learned disease, amenable to cure for relearning. The different treatments induced different ways of controlling weight. In some programs, behavioral therapy is combined with cognitive or nutritional education. Drug therapy is also important. The first drug for the management of obesity, thyroid hormone, was introduced in 1893. It was believed to be therapeutic because overweight patients were thought to have a reduced metabolic rate. Dinitrophenol, a drug that was noted to increase metabolic rate due to the uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation and to produce weight loss, was soon abandoned because of severe side effects. But in childhood, there is only very limited experience with anti-obesity drugs. Clinicians do not recommend drug therapy in the management of childhood obesity. Surgical treatment, medical treatment of obesity and the prevention of obesity are in most cases discouraging and frustrating for subjects, doctors and dietitians. The surgical treatment of obesity, bariatric surgery, was proposed 40 years ago. Even though the minimum recommended age for bariatric surgery has been placed at 18 years, a few cases have been reported where the severity of obesity or related complications were such that bariatric surgery was undertaken in younger subjects. Bariatric surgery has been advanced during the past years as an intervention for adolescents with extreme obesity who fail to respond to conservative treatment options. Current evidence suggests that after bariatric surgery, adolescents not only significantly decrease their BMI but also improve the status of related comorbidities and psychosocial well-being. Surgical treatment of obesity in childhood and adolescence is undesirable and in general should only be considered when all else has failed. When children have achieved adult height and when severe, potentially life-threatening complications of obesity are present, certainly bariatric surgery cannot and never will solve the problems of management for vast majority of obese and morbidly obese children and adolescents. Then we will talk about the prevention strategies for childhood obesity. Obesity is most common chronic disorder in the developed as well as in developing world. It might be expected that the rising prevalence of obesity at all ages would make preventive programs a high priority in obesity research. The thermodynamic basis for obesity is positive energy balance. If energy consumed in the diet exceeds energy expended through exercise, then surplus energy is stored as fat. So the way to prevent obesity is, in theory, very simple. Ensure negative energy balance. This encourages the conversion of stored fat into energy, with resulting in loss in weight. Consequently, obesity should be preventable through increasing energy output, that is physical activity, reducing energy intake, that is diet. Prevention of obesity has to start very early in life, that is in early childhood, and weight stability in years of growth is the emphasized approach. Childhood is considered a priority population for prevention programs because it is easier to maintain a weight in early childhood over a defined period of time than to lose weight in adolescent or adulthood, and it is easier to implement prevention programs in school settings. Sharma 2007. Since dietary and physical activity behaviors, that is obesity prevention behaviors, are getting formed at these ages, primary school settings are the most ideal settings for school-based interventions. At this age group, the establishment of healthy behaviors have potential long-term impact. The majority of these interventions were able to demonstrate a positive change towards development of healthy behaviors, whereas results have been controversial in terms of adiposity indices such as BMI. In terms of specialties implemented in the intervention programs, the most feasible and practical approach seems to be a multidisciplinary team including primary health, physicians, pediatricians, nutrition specialists, dietitians, physical activity specialists, nurses, school teachers, psychologists, social workers. In addition to the formation of multidisciplinary teams of health professionals, parental involvement has been found to be an important determinant for success in all interventions. Sharma 2007. Let us summarize the module. Prevalence of obesity and overweight has increased considerably over the past years due to rapid prevalence and increase associated health consequences of obesity. It is considered as one of the most health challenges of the early 21st century. Raised body mass index is a major risk factor for certain non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular diseases, many types of cancers, kidney cancer, colorectal cancer, etc., type 2 diabetes, etc. Childhood obesity is considered as a serious medical condition which affects the children and adolescents. Obese children are above normal weight for their age and height. It is important to recognize that childhood obesity is a complex system problem that has resulted from environmental changes and biological dispositions. Obesity should be addressed through comprehensive approach across multiple settings and sectors that can change individual nutrition and physical activity behavior and the environments and policies that affect these behaviors. Society has now changed from times of food scarcity to easy provision of calorie-dense food and elimination reduction of daily activities that could consume calories. Prevention of obesity has to start very early in life, that is in early childhood, and weight stability in years of growth is the emphasized approach. There are many strategies to prevent childhood obesity, including change in dietary pattern of child, including physical activity in our routine, and one of the best strategies is to improve the eating and exercise habits of the entire family. As children learn what they see, we need to create and encourage interventions that integrate multiple levels of influence and note the intervention effects on social and environmental change as well as behavioral and clinical changes at the individual and family level. Biology and culture have not adequately rapidly, as humans are still programmed to gain weight for survival and large children are sign of successful parenting in many cultures. Hence, early treatment and prevention for childhood obesity helps protect the child's health and how in the child's health now and also in the future. Thank you.